Hello, everybody. It is Friday, week 13, despite what it says on the graphic there. A little early in the morning for the graphics guy. I'll get him into shape here. It's week 13. It's the Draft Kings Main Slate that we're here to discuss. I'm going to hand this thing over. My name's Clark Lorensen, by the way. I'm going to hand this over to our resident here in the Sports Attic, our resident Draft Kings fella, our guy, our person. Here he is, Alfred Ferdinand Larcher III.
Well, hello, Clark Lorensen, and this is an exciting week because if you like running backs, this is the week to be in on them because there's a lot of ceiling at the running back position this week. We'll break down the top 3 games with the highest over and under, and we'll look at some of the positions as well. And while we start a little bit at the quarterback position, this week there's a lot of ceiling at the quarterback position. There's a lot of guys in good spots who can get you 30 points. So punting at quarterback, certainly, if you're doing a lot of teams, you're doing, mass entry stuff, you're gonna want to look for some punt plays. But if you're in cash specifically, and even in smaller field tournaments, like all the equities at the top this week, and you got Jalen Hurts. He's playing Tennessee. There's Tennessee likes it's a pass funnel. You could throw on Tennessee. You can't run on Tennessee. It's a good week to get off of Miles Sanders, but a great week to get on the Philadelphia pass catchers. So there's
AJ
some
Brown.
equity. Yeah, AJ. Oh my God, I'm getting a boner right now thinking about AJ Brown. It's that kind of week. It is get hard for AJ Brown week. He's one of the best wide receiver values this week, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's keep with the quarterback position here. Jalen Hurts, phenomenal position. You have a shootout, which is going to be a great shootout between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. Mahomes, Burrow, however you want to attack it, both those guys certainly in play. I'm leaning more towards the 6,900 Joe Burrow versus the 8,300 Patrick Mahomes. It's just a hard team to stack, and we'll go through that game. It's one of the highest over-unders, so we'll talk more about how to stack it and how to approach it in a minute. Justin Fields possibly playing 7,400. I don't know if I'm going to want to touch that against Green Bay. Green Bay, as people know, is just a fantasy death camp. It's just a slow grind anytime the Green Bay Packers are on the field. They don't like to play fast. They like to play extremely slow. So there's not a lot of fantasy equity in there. But if Justin Fields is playing, Mooney is out. It seems like an obvious path to either Komet or Claypool. This might be the big Claypool coming of age game. And of course, you get the equity of Justin Fields' legs. So that's enticing. But I'm not certain Justin Fields is going to play in that game yet. I don't know if you've heard anything, Clark.
No, I mean, signs started pointing that direction as of yesterday. The full participant yesterday has everybody excited. We'll see. I mean, today we'll find out probably what's going on.
Yeah, we'll get a better understanding. Just watch that injury report coming out this afternoon. Deshaun Watson, he's been getting the tug jobs over at the massage parlors all across Texas, and they threw him out of Texas. That's why he resides in Tennessee, because all his exes live in Texas, as the George Strait song goes. But right now he's not in Tennessee. He's in Cleveland, and this is a potent Cleveland offense with a hell of an offensive line. It's a great position for Deshaun Watson. Does he have chemistry with this team? We don't know. Is he going to be rusty? We don't know. Is he the same guy he once was? We don't know. Are the massage therapists going to be in the stands? Probably. Is that going to mess with his head? We don't know. So it's a gamble, but he's 6,500 with a 30-point ceiling. You're certainly going to want to have some exposure on him. Lamar Jackson, 7,800 against Denver. Not an enticing play. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a sickening play, but it's Lamar Jackson, and you know who to stack it with there with Andrews, and you go to town. Justin Herbert's in a smash spot. One of the best spots for him of the year, going up against Vegas, who you could just, you could have your way with offensively. This is going to be a big game for all Los Angeles Chargers players. including Herbert. Eckler is going to smash. I mean, the receivers are going to smash. We'll talk more about that game in a moment. And then the flavor of the week. Everybody's excited. As a matter of fact, highest projected ownership of any quarterback. Do you know who it is, Clark?
It is a fella. They have great barbecue in the town where he plays football. Patrick Mahomes.
No. It is not. Patrick Mahomes is not going to be highly owned because of his extreme price point and impossibility to game stack. It is Trevor Lawrence, Clark, the first overall pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No.
He's come to roost. He's 5,900 in Detroit. And we know what happens in Detroit. We know what happens in that dome. It is a fantasy gold mine. And Trevor Lawrence has been looking decent lately. 5,900. He's the he's the low priced quarterback of the week. He's the flavor of the week. You're probably going to see him in cash games as well as tournament. He might be a little overowned, versus say Justin Fields. Obviously, a lot more money and a lot more risk because you just don't know how healthy he is. But yeah, I mean Trevor Lawrence is going to be that guy. On the lower priced end of things, Mike White looked really good against the Bears, and he's going up against Minnesota in the Dome. Just a very efficient quarterback. He is 5,400. I don't love the play, but I certainly do like it in tournaments. I'm going to be giving some dart throws at that. Derek Carr, miserable, never hits, like above those 20 points. It's like getting prune juice out of that guy. But he's 5,600, and he's probably worth a shot, as is Kirk Cousins. Kind of the same story. Not an enticing play, but an okay play. Geno Smith's in a great spot.
Nice.
Thank you for jumping in there, Clark.
Appreciate no problem. I just wanted to get all over that for you. I had my settings wrong. And you're right. Trevor Lawrence is who I see as the highest projected.
Well, there you go.
Quarterback.
The lowest.
You got it. Great job.
The lowest quarterback I'd go to this week is probably Jared Goff, just because of game environment and the high over and under at 5,300. I'm not excited about that play. Neither is the field. He's projected about 6%. And then 5,200, if you really want to get sneaky, if you want to get dirty, if you want to get in the weeds, maybe some Kenny Pickett, but I don't think his ceiling is realistic enough. Kind of the same problem with like Mike White, who we were talking about. Good player, good position, but the ceiling, it just isn't that enticing, and I don't think it's enough to win a tournament. So those are probably some bad ideas. Whereas somebody like Joe Burrow, I think, is the way to go this week. The running back position, this is like I said, there's a lot, in my opinion, there's a lot of low priced wide receiver plays this week. There's guys who are cost efficient in good spots. Number one receivers like Burks, in Tennessee against the Philadelphia Eagles. There's just some good plays out there where you could save some money because you're going to want to spend up, I think, this week at the running back position. I think this is Austin Eckler is 8,500. He's in a gold mine of a spot. I mean, the guy is projecting right now at about 20% ownership, probably too low. I think his ceiling is very realistically in the 30s, the 30 pluses. He's just a guy they use for everything. Passing, pass work, run work. He's an elite back in a great environment going up against the Raiders, who are weak at defending the running back position. I think a great tournament play. Anytime you see this guy at 5% ownership, you play the fuck out of him. Like he's that good. It's Christian McCaffrey. There was some talk this week, maybe a little bit of injury concerns. In practice, he's a little banged up, but I believe his backup is out. There's not a lot of competition this week for him at the running back position. And San Francisco gets Miami. It's not an enticing matchup. It's not like the Austin Eckler matchup where there's just so many pluses. It's a bit of a risk, but at 5%, that's a tournament winner.
He is Elijah Mitchell, right? He's right back out again.
Right. Yeah.
Stepped up. Wow.
So Yeah, smash spot for McCaffrey with Mitchell out. Josh Jacobs, 50 points. I told you to get off him early on Sunday morning because I was a little worried about him popping up in the injury
Yeah.
report on
Yeah.
Friday.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, he goes off for 50 points. So good thing there wasn't a show last week because I probably would have screwed a lot of people up with the holidays. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, 7,900. Great spot again going up against the Chargers. That game, like I wouldn't mind playing the two running backs against each other. I mean, it's almost impossible because of price, but yeah, I mean, it's enticing.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, Cleveland, we know like play running backs against Houston. Houston cannot. Lovey Smith, this guy, I mean, he had his moment. We're from Chicago.
Right.
There's a little bit of Lovey love, but his defenses have been historically bad since leaving the Bears. And they can't stop the run. And Nick Chubb should give you a little chubby because the guy is a dominant running back. He's a man playing against boys, and he's going to run over them. He's going to knock those tomato cans over. To quote the great Doug Buffone. And yeah, and then you got Watson. I mean, it's an interesting game, but Cleveland likes running the ball. They prefer to run the ball, and they're playing a team that can't stop the run. So, Nick Chubb, he's only projecting at 8% ownership. It's scary low for the potential he has, especially when you weigh that against Josh Jacobs. Both of them are in great spots, Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is only $100 less, and he's projecting at about 30% ownership.
Mm-hmm. Still
So,
questionable.
yeah, questionable. So great pivot. I mean, fantastic pivot is to play Nick Chubb over Josh Jacobs. Any chance you could get this week?
All right.
My throat is drying out.
No, that's all good. Yeah, and
Heat
of
off
course
there.
they're in the dome in Houston. That's great for
Yeah.
that. Huh. It'll be interesting to see how the running backs do with the changing QB there.
Joe Mixon, Cincinnati Bengals, 7,100, right there. Almost $1,000 off of Jacobs and Chubb. Joe Mixon, way too cheap. Great spot
Limited
against the
practice.
Chiefs.
Yeah, limited practice on Wednesday for Mixon. He's
Yeah,
making his way through the protocol.
you're right. Which is great. I mean, the good thing with concussions is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it could happen again, but it's not going to stop his legs.
Right.
I mean, once a guy clears, he's back full, 100%. So
Is P Ryan going to be a must play if he's out at 6,000?
yes, 100%. Yeah, if the news comes out Joe Mixon isn't playing, P Ryan's a smash play at 6K. Aaron Jones, I don't love the spot, but it's Chicago, it's the Bears,
Yeah.
and Aaron Rodgers has nobody to throw to, and we traded away everybody who could stop the run.
Yeah.
There's nobody left on the Chicago Bears who could stop the run. So,
And
run
then
all you want.
anyone who can stop the pass is hurt.
That's true. Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean,
Just so we're clear.
the Bears are a pretty bad defense, and Aaron Jones is a pretty good running back, and he's 6,900, and he's coming in about 10% ownership. So, yeah, that's a good play as well. There are some cheap options at running back this week. I don't like any of them. Zonovan Knight of the Jets, 4,600.
You're
Okay
not big on him,
ceiling.
huh?
Yeah, I just think there's so much ceiling that you're probably these guys aren't going to probably go for 20 plus points, and I think you're going to need 20 plus points from your running backs this week. So
Okay.
you know, and for only like $700 more, you could take a shot at either Gibson or Brian Robinson, um,
Yep.
who they're playing the Giants. The Giants aren't great against the run. They're good at stopping the pass, but you could run on them. So, I'd rather take a risk on one of those two guys and hoping for the best. DeAndre Swift's only 5,600. We don't know what his usage is anymore. It's all over the place. But he seems more healthy now. and it's very realistic to see him involved in that game plan.
Well, Williams is getting a lot of carries there, right? Like,
Yeah,
does he get the bulk of them still for the most part?
he does. Yeah, Swift is still more involved in the passing game, but and Williams especially around the goal line. 18 touches last week, 17 the week prior, 16 the week prior to that, and that's with Swift playing. So uh, Swift only had 5 attempts last week, 5 attempts the week before. So even if you give him 10 attempts, which would be back to kind of where he was, I mean, it's not that enticing, but given the skill of the player, he's worth taking some risk on.
Yep. Interesting. And then you got Lawrence in that game. All right. I like that game.
Yeah. So up top is where I'm going at running back is basically what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
the punt plays aren't that enticing. Whereas, when we talk receiver, I think there's a lot of value. And we'll go over that in just a second here. I'm just trying to find the mid price running back I like this week. I told you Sanders is in a bad spot. He's 6,300.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not doing that. Travis Etienne, if he's healthy against Detroit, is a good play. Probably the best play at the price range. The field's there at 21%. So they agree with me. Damian Pierce against Cleveland. They're going to be playing from behind. It's not that enticing. But the only offense the Houston Texans have is Damian Pierce. He's 5,900. It's a home game. I like that. I like that play. So, yeah, there's not a lot of flexibility at the running back position this week either. I mean, you're spending at least 6,000, over 6,000 for both players. Like I said, I don't think there's a punt worth taking right now unless there's something happens in the injury reports.
Is there a backup for ETN if he's out? Like, would you go with Hasty there?
Probably not. I mean, at that point, I don't think I'd find the value to go there.
Again, yeah, because you're spending up at running back.
Yeah, I'd prefer to spend up for sure. Because we'll move to the receiver.
Yesterday, ATN had proclaimed that he'll be ready to go. So if it's up to him, he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, I have my money on him playing for sure.
Okay.
Here's some receivers. Justin Watson, he's 3,200. It seems like he's the only receiver he's on the field more than any other wide receiver right now for the Kansas City Chiefs. And they're in a good spot. So against Cincinnati. So, I mean, that's just a great play. Kendall Hinton of the Denver Broncos, 3,600. Elijah Moore, 3,700. Actually don't like that play at all. DeAndre Carter, great play, 3,900. The third receiver for the slot, third receiver for the Chargers.
Yeah. Let's see. They third receiver for the Chargers is not a good play, or he's a good play.
It's a great play.
I was all right.
I think he's the best value play at
All
3,900.
All right, that's great.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of him. Matt Collins, 4,600, Vegas. There's just such issues at that receiver position. Chase Claypool, the number one receiver for the Chicago Bears. We know it's a crapshoot. We know it very possibly could be 8 targets for 46 yards, but Chase Claypool's 3,800. DJ Shark is going against the team that drafted him, the Jacksonville Jaguars. A little bit of a revenge game, 3,800. So Marvin Jones, 4K. Josh Reynolds returning to the Lions. I think he's going to be taking on back his role. He's 4K.
Okay.
So, and then Scatling, Valdez Scatling of the Chiefs is 4,100. So, like I'm saying, there's just a lot of underneath value. Burks, 4,600. Drake London, 47. Hell, Thielen is 5K. Garrett Wilson, great play, 5,300 against Minnesota in the Dome. So I don't think you need to go as high at the receiver position this week, especially because there are a couple guys, at a decent price. Jamar Chase, if he plays, he's in a great spot against the Chiefs, 7,900. Armand St. Brown, always too cheap, 7,100. 30-point ceiling. The guy I got excited about when we started the show, absolutely great spot. AJ Brown, 7,800. Great price, great ceiling. So you don't have to spend over 8K at wide receivers, what I'm saying this week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those guys, they're there and their ceilings are real. I mean, it's your Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson, who's not in a great spot. The Jets can shut him down. And was that Sauce over there? You have Tyreek Hill against San Francisco. Again, you're betting on talent. Those guys can absolutely dominate.
Yep.
3 touchdowns, 200 yards, but they're not in good spots. It's not favorable for them. Devontae Adams, I like him best of the 3 players over 8K. He's 8,700, and I think he is in a good spot against the Chargers. So he's my favorite play in that price range. But I'm very comfortable going down to 7,800 with AJ Brown, or spending 100 more for Higgins, or I'm sorry, for Chase. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm going to be looking.
If Chase happens to be out, if it's the same story as last week when it looked like he was playing,
Yeah,
Higgins, Boyd,
yeah, Higgins,
yeah,
sure, not Boyd. I mean Boyd's just a wasteland of fantasy, but Higgins for sure.
okay, yep.
Uh,
It's
okay.
that time of year where like when it's sunny in a stadium, at a game, it looks like, oh, it's going to be beautiful weather, but it might be 30 degrees. It might be 20
Yeah.
degrees. It's there. It's going to be 37 in Kansas City for that matchup between the Cincinnati and Kansas City, of course. Here in Chicago, where the Bears are hosting the evil Green Bay Packers, we're looking at 36 degrees, sunny and clear.
Beautiful.
There you go.
All right, so let's start looking at the top 3 over unders and how to attack those games. At 51 points right now, Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions. The point spread's a half a point, so they're expecting a shootout and a close shootout. So it should be a competitive game, and the quarterback to play is obviously Trevor Lawrence at 5,900. Goff just not as enticing, but he is 5,300. I am going to take some shots with him, but I'm kind of with the chalk with the field, and thinking Trevor Lawrence is a great play.
Yep.
So just looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars, I wouldn't mind stacking Trevor Lawrence with Travis Etienne and doing the double stack. The best play in the highest ceiling at 6,300 is Christian Kirk. Just an awesome spot for him. I'm not going to have a lot of exposure on Zay Jones or Marvin Jones Jr., but in game stacks, I'm definitely going to be looking at them. Right now, Zay Jones is projecting for very high ownership. So it looks like everybody wants to stack Lawrence, Kirk, and Zay Jones. Where, Marvin Jones is a decent pivot. And Ingram's only coming in at 10% ownership, and he's 3K. So, yeah. So I like that. I mean, I when I'm attacking this game, I'm probably going to do everything I can to avoid stacking with Zay Jones, just because of the ownership. Christian Kirk has 20% ownership, and that's worth taking.
Wow.
Zay Jones at 23% ownership, not worth taking.
Just the price that you're paying there.
Yeah, the price you're playing, the ceiling isn't as good, and you can't play both of them because of the ownership.
Yep.
And you have the highest owned quarterback and 2 of the highest owned receivers.
Okay. I like that. The weather, of course, is going to be just fine because they have that dome in Detroit
Honey.
in that game. So, with the weather being fine in the dome, they are going to do. They should be able to perform up to all of their capabilities. Al.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No. I might do a little bit of Kirk based on that.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are cheap. 5,900 for Lawrence. Your number one receiver, 6,300 for Kirk, and then you punt for 4K at Marvin Jones and or Evan Ingram at 3. You're gonna have a lot of money. You're gonna eat a ton of ownership though.
I like
So
I like when when a player plays against his former team. Even Marvin Jones, I think he had a touchdown last week.
yeah,
Yeah, great
yeah,
comeback
Marvin Jones.
the Jags had. Yeah, we'll see there. And then, so if you're going to stack the Jaguars, then you run back with St. Brown, right?
Well, I mean, you're really running into massive ownership problems at this point. Yeah, Marvin Jones 3 for 3 last week, 22 yards and a touchdown. So not that exciting, but
Right. But
I mean, there is a ceiling potential.
mhm.
Yeah, Armand St. Brown is at 25% ownership. So if you play
That's up
the
there.
players everybody's playing, man, you have to get very, very contrarian
Sure.
with the other pieces in these games. I mean, you're going to have to look to play. And that doesn't mean like play gross players. We talked about Derrick Henry being a great spot, and he's at 5% ownership. So right there is a pivot. That's worth playing because remember these guys are cheap, so you're gonna have some money. So, I'm sorry, not Derrick Henry.
That's what I
Derrick
heard.
Henry, yeah, Derrick Henry against Philly, it's a decent risk, but I much rather would go with Christian McCaffrey at a 5% ownership.
Okay.
And then whatever punt play, if you spend down at tight end or you spend down on your third wide receiver, you have to make sure you're not playing the player everyone else is. Like you just cannot. Or you're just going to be in with you're going to be in with the rest of the field. And you're not going to be able to differentiate yourself. So, I mean, it's a must to get creative if you're stacking this game. And it is probably the most exciting game to stack on the board. Like it gives you a lot of flexibility
Yep.
and there's a lot of hope that this is going to be a shootout. Um, it might be worth avoiding in tournaments. Like if the field's going, 15%, I might go 7% and just cut it in half. Just because there's so much chalk in this game, just so much chalk. It's just really, really hard to play. You could get really contrarian and go the other way. Jared Goff cuts your ownership of quarterback in half.
Mhm.
Now you're down to 6%. You're gonna play St. Brown, fine. And then maybe a Josh Reynolds who's at under 3% ownership right now, and immediately, now you're taking a completely contrarian approach to the game, and it has the same ceiling and it has the same projection. Remember, both teams, it's only a half point difference um, between the two according to Vegas, and it's a 51 point over and under. So it's not unrealistic that Jared Goff can have a really good game, with Armand St. Brown and maybe like a Brock Wright, at 2,800. It's touchdown dependent, but okay. No ownership there, under 3%. Again, I probably would go with the 4K Josh Reynolds at under 3%, under 1% ownership right now, in all honesty. So, or DJ Shark, again, under 1% ownership. And then you run it back with Christian Kirk. And then you're avoiding the Zay Jones and the double stack there. Um, I'm talking myself into it that I think I like the Lions side better than the Trevor Lawrence side in this game, just because of ownership. No other reason. I mean, obviously, the better play is to take Trevor Lawrence in the Jacksonville side, but you could still get there with the Lions, especially if Jacksonville kind of shuts down or stifles that running back situation, and and it's just a pure shootout. So yeah, I mean, let's not forget Jared Goff did have one good game this year. Let me see what his actual ceiling's been, or am I imagining that?
I have
No,
no
30,
idea. No clue.
37 points against the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, the
Oh,
dude
really?
almost put up 40 points one time this year.
I had no
I mean,
clue.
outside of that, virtually every game he's played, he's been under 20 fantasy points. So the Seattle game at 37 points, a massive outlier, but it happened. And this is the right atmosphere for it to happen again. So just something to consider. Like I said, if you play the Detroit side, you're completely going against the field. And that's enticing when you have a team that's so chalky. Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals, 53 point over and under. This is the number one over and under on the week. Kansas City's favored by 2. So, again, projecting for a shootout. We know Kansas City doesn't play well in their home stadium. They don't play bad. Um, they don't throw as much. Patrick Mahomes has road splits, and he's one of the few quarterbacks who are better on the road as opposed to home from a fantasy perspective, not an actual gameplay perspective. And you have Joe Burrow at 6,900. I mean, this is just a great game to play. Um, and Patrick Mahomes, nobody wants to touch the Kansas City Chiefs this week because Patrick Mahomes is expensive. He's 8,300. Because Travis Kelsey is expensive at 7,900. You have a 60-point ceiling between the two players. That's real. It's realistic. It could get there and it could get there fast. You might just want to single stack those two guys and then run it back on Cincinnati with like a boot for 3,500 and get Hayden Hurst. Now you're saving a little bit of money. You're getting a lot of equity out of this game, and you can move on. You don't have to guess at the Kansas City wide receiver position, which is a mess.
Mhm.
Most likely, I think I like Justin Watson at 3,200 out of any of the players. Not one. I mean, to put this in perspective, this game has a 53-point over and under. Nobody, not one single wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs is projecting over 3% ownership.
Wow.
Nobody wants to play them. And there's good reason because you just don't know. They spread it around.
So then you throw a dart at one of them and they happen to hit and they don't
Boom.
spread out. You're good to
Yeah.
go. That's so tough. Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is, you typically spend what about like $8,000 for number one wide receiver, 7,900 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Well, Kelsey is 7,900, and then usually what you do is you pair it with a tight end who's around 3K. Well, Justin Watson is 3,200.
Mm-hmm.
So you're effectively, you're taking a wide receiver and playing them as the tight end, from a cost perspective, and then you're playing the tight end as your number one receiver, and you're in the same boat as everybody else. Like you're not shooting yourself in the foot. So, and if you want one of the top two wide receivers on the game, 4,100 for Scatling. Again, I mean that's an elite. An above average price for a tight end. So, it's definitely doable. And then you could still probably run it back with like a Higgins at
Okay.
7,200. It's expensive, but, yeah, it's expensive, but I think you could probably pull it off. If not, I mean, there's always Boyd. And like I said initially, I think Hayden Hurst is a good run back at 3,500. The problem is if you're running back Hayden Hurst, now you're using your flex. You're playing a double tight end team, which is okay. Over the course of a year, generally 2 or 3 double tight end teams win a Millie Maker. So it's not like a horrible strategy. It's just not a strategy I tend to be comfortable with. But it's probably the route I'm going to go in this game. Throw a little tight end in the flex and walk out of there um, with some decent value. Now, I prefer to play the Joe Burrow side of this game, does the field. Joe Burrow projecting a little bit better at ownership. He's at about 11%, which I think is about the third highest projected owned quarterback this week. But he's got a 30-point ceiling, and he's 6,900, and
Yep.
they only throw to like two guys, and it's Higgins and it's Chase. Very hard to double stack them. That's again why Hayden Hurst fits in nicely in this game. Period. I mean, he's coming in. He's not a guy. He's 3,500, and he projects for a guy who's around 3K. Nobody would be playing him otherwise, but because of the game environment for him, he's projecting at about 10% ownership. So it's not a sneaky move. It's going to be a move you're going to have to play, but the game itself is so low owned with such a high ceiling that, yeah, I think right now, I have to say, if I'm playing like a 6,000 person field or under, I'm definitely playing somebody from this game, and it's probably going to be Burrow.
Okay.
Although I'm starting to talk myself into the Kansas City side that we just talked through.
I like that too. Even though the ownership is there a bit with Mahomes.
Yeah, well, Mahomes doesn't have any ownership.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Mahomes is
That's great.
he's at about 5% ownership because of the price. You could get the same ceiling from Joe Burrow at 6,900 than you can for Patrick Mahomes at 8,300. So the field obviously is just going to gravitate towards the cheaper play when they're projecting exactly the same. And that guy's Joe Burrow. But that doesn't mean, Patrick Mahomes isn't the only quarterback this week who goes off, for 35, 40 points and just has an old school Patrick Mahomes game, like we saw a couple years ago. So,
Yep.
yeah. But, from a strategic standpoint, you're probably going to want to go Joe Burrow. Last year, I mean, we saw 43-point games from Mahomes. Last year, I mean, but we also kind of saw that with Burrow as well. So, take it or leave it. Play the game. Right now, there's just too little ownership on there. Get creative with it. You may just want to single stack Mahomes with Kelsey. You may want to single stack Burrow, and then run it back with like Kelsey. That's the other problem. Playing the Cincinnati side is who do you do the run back? I mean, it's like
Right.
you could do the running back position in the Kansas City Chiefs. Pachenko, I think, is a good play at 5,700, or you can do Kelsey. You're probably not going to want to take the risk of one of those other wide receivers, even though there's a little bit of value there. 50 and a half point over and under. You have the Chargers and you have the Raiders, and the Chargers are just in this game is really sexy, really
Another
appealing.
game played in a dome, Al, so the weather's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I've talked myself into thinking I have like an edge playing just the late game slate, just the afternoon slate, and doing like a 150 max. And
Yep.
this one's really exciting, man. I mean, you have Seattle, LA, which is a shit show, but then you have Miami, San Francisco, you have Kansas City, Cincinnati, you have LA, Chargers, and Vegas. So the afternoon slate is really, really enticing this week. It's gonna be fun.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of turds in the early slate. Chicago, Green Bay. I mean, come on.
Well, we had a question in the chat. This is from somebody called Clark in Chicago. Should I play Aaron Rodgers in 20% of my lineup, stack him with Lazard, and run it back with Velus Jones Jr.?
No, absolutely not.
No.
You shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be playing fantasy football.
Who asked that question?
I don't know who that guy is. He's a dubious individual, whoever it is. Um, yeah,
No,
everybody in this player. Huh?
I just say, get out of here. You're not allowed to play anymore.
Yeah, no. You should get the lifetime ban, the Pete Rose.
There you go.
Everybody in this game is playable. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Joshua Palmer, DeAndre Carter. Those are awesome wide receiver plays. None of them are projecting over 10% ownership right now, which I don't think is right. Like, why? 6,500 on Keenan Allen, 5,600 on Palmer. It's an easy double stack.
Yeah.
Eckler at 20%, I think, is too underowned. I guess it's because Herbert's 7,200. That's not even that bad. Gerald Everett, he's in a decent spot as well. 4,400, a little expensive for the tight end position, but no ownership. So, yeah, do whatever you want with the Jacksonville double stack. Like, have some fun. You could do Herbert, Eckler, and a wide receiver. You could do Herbert, 2 wide receivers. You could do Herbert, wide receiver, tight end. I mean, it's all playable, and there's no wrong answer.
Okay.
Josh Palmer projecting similar to Keenan Allen. A little less ownership and obviously $1,000 less, $900 less. So Josh Palmer, really good play this week. Mike Williams hasn't practiced last 2 practices. So I don't think he's playing. So yeah, I mean, fire it up. And the run back's easy. It's Devontae Adams. He's 8,700. He's expensive, but he's in a great spot. If you want to run back Josh Jacobs, that's doable too. Assuming the Chargers fall behind and the Raiders just run the ball. And that might be a little contrarian to the field because I think most people are going to do the run back with Adams. Matt Collins is a great value if you just want to find a value in the stack. I don't think you need to, but it's an option. From the Raiders side, not as enticing because Derek Carr, let's face it, just isn't a great ceiling, but he's definitely in play at 5,600. Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, all playable. Matt Collins at 4,600 is playable. And Foster Moreau hasn't done anything really, since filling in. His ownership's also a little too high, 15% for what he is.
Yep.
But he's 3,600, and people are definitely going to be most likely this game stack is Carr, Adams, Moreau, and then you run it back with Keenan Allen or Eckler. I think that's the way to attack it from the Raiders side. But yeah, it's just far more enticing of a play from the Chargers perspective. That's the way to go there, especially in like smaller field tournaments. Just play Herbert. I got to consider that against the Kansas City. It's either going to be my play this week is either going to be like a single entry tournament, going for that 50K, against 6,000 others. It's either going to be Mahomes, Herbert, or Burrow. Right now, I'm probably leaning Burrow, although I feel like Burrow. I wish I could just search which player has cost me the most money. I feel like that data should be available, but for
There
me,
you
it
go.
might be Joe Burrow. I constantly bet on Joe Burrow to go off, and then when I don't play him is when he puts up the 50 points. So,
Well, traditionally, Al, who are the players that got you the big victories? Traditionally, who do you recall as being the ones who got you, your big tournament win?
Drew Lock,
Drew Lock.
yeah, Drew
Oh
Lock.
yeah,
I
you
mean,
have a Drew Lock jersey. You
I do have
celebrated
a
it
drop.
getting his jersey, which is a great move.
Yeah, Drew Lock, and who's my other big win with? Let me pull it up here. I know it's all underpriced quarterbacks. I mean, that's the way to do it in tournaments.
Yeah.
It's seldom that it's the big money guys that win the tournaments. They win the smaller field stuff, though. I mean, keep that in mind. But when you're playing like the Millie Maker or the $3 play action, um, I mean, you got to look underneath. You got to fade a lot of the higher price stuff. I don't like
Yeah.
spending in tournaments. I don't like spending more than 5K. Or I'm sorry, I'm always under 6K for
Really?
my big tournament, like
Yeah.
my big tournament plays. So like this week, we talked a little bit at the opening of the show, but
Fields kind of cracked that train of thought a little bit, didn't he?
yeah,
Once
I mean,
once you got to
my big
7, you were still playing him.
my biggest win this year was with the Fields stack. It
Yeah.
was the week before it was the first week he went off when only 5% of the field was on him, and
In
his
Dallas
price was
when I was there. Yeah.
it might have been Dallas. Yeah, I mean his price was extremely cheap. So I think Dallas might have been the week after.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yep. I mean, he did
That
fine in Dallas.
Yeah, no, he had another great game.
Minus the
This
one.
week I kind of I faded him because I thought everybody was going with him.
Yeah.
Um, oh wow, I don't have it listed. Anyways, yeah, I know both tournaments were lower priced quarterbacks.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, which is great. Fantastic.
so I mean, look, I mean that's just more reasons to play Jared Goff this week
There
or
you
Mike
go.
White.
And
You
that's
know,
right. I mean, you said that Burrow has cost you the most money, probably. So
yeah,
while Drew
yeah.
Lock has won you the most, probably. You know what I mean? It's so funny to hear that.
I mean, the clear tournament play, if the ownership wasn't so high, would have been Trevor Lawrence. Like,
Yeah.
that's what you look for in a quarterback. That's a game environment you look for, but what you hope is nobody's playing it, and unfortunately, everyone's playing it. So,
Right.
yeah. So Mike White in the dome. I mean, that's the that's the millie maker right there.
All right. I mean, I feel like quite a few people are going to be on Mike White this week in the dome.
No, no. I mean, you're
No,
talking under 5%.
he's too young. Yeah. All right. Well, then let's
Yeah,
go.
his ceiling isn't realistic enough to get there, but I mean, those are the guys who win you the tournaments because
My Mike White Garrett Wilson stack helped push me over the edge
Oh yeah.
last week. That came out of nowhere.
I mean, just doing like a quick game stack, and I'll just generate like to a ceiling.
Yeah.
Let's say you do Mike White, right? You obviously want to play Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Davis and Elijah Moore are dart throws. Neither of them are that enticing. Tyler Conklin, a lot of ownership there, but fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll take it because I don't know what else to do. And then I'm going to run it back with. I mean, the obvious play is Justin Jefferson. He's at 10% ownership, 30 point ceiling, 8,900. But I'm going to get a little contrarian, and I'm going to go 7,200 with a 25-point ceiling, and I'm going to go Delvin Cook. So I'm playing into my thought this week that running back is the way to go. And then okay, so there's the game stack. Now let me just optimize to a ceiling. I think I have my rules set here so that it's gonna project to my ceiling, my ownership of under 13%, which I always strive for. And yeah, I mean, look, you get Mike White. Your running backs are Delvin Cook, Travis
I like
Etienne.
that.
Your
I
flex
like
is
that.
Christian McCaffrey, who I said it's a damn good play. Your receivers, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, DeAndre
Oh,
Carter, who we talked about with the Chargers, is a great value. And then pick a defense, and you're projecting at 200 points as a ceiling.
wow.
And I'll probably play this game just to see how it goes. As we talked about here, unless of course Chase doesn't play, then I would pivot off of it. But uh, yeah, let me just see what ownership it's coming in at.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh shit! I didn't realize I've already generated 300 teams. All right,
So you've
display
got 300
tags.
teams?
Well, no, I just generate like mass amounts of teams to see what's happening.
Right.
To see what players are being overplayed. You know, uh, that team we just built projects at about 12% ownership. So very much a tournament play.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, again, the ceiling on this: Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Delvin Cook, Travis Etienne.
Uh-huh.
You get Garrett Wilson, who you saw what he could do. He's like the only guy Mike White is comfortable throwing to. Your biggest risk is Mike White. I think DeAndre Carter at the Chargers positions, pretty safe play. Tyler Conklin is only 3K. He's a punt, and it makes sense. And then, it puts you down in the Tennessee defense, which isn't a great play, but it's allowing you to make everything else happen.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean that's a great tournament play. Like that's a tournament play I get excited about. We have a correlation of a double stack of Garrett Wilson, Conklin, and White. You have the correlation of the run back and Delvin Cook. There's no other mini correlation in it from what I'm seeing here, but every player I'm excited about. So cool. Yeah. And again, that's why you play underneath in mass tournaments, because nobody is thinking it. Like I said, that's projecting at 12% ownership, at 12% average ownership. It's going to be a unique team. Unless you're listening to this and you're just going to play it despite me, nobody else is going to play that team. So, but yeah, I mean, play it if you want it, though. It's, I just gave it out. What else? Yeah, there's not a lot of things underneath that I'm really all that excited for. I will play some Bears Packers just because I'm a homer, but there's no actual reason to do that unless you're a Bears fan or a Packer fan, because I mean that's just a dreadfully slow projecting game. Philadelphia, Tennessee. We talked a little bit about it. There's definitely some good plays there. Jalen Hurts double stack with the Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, a little expensive but doable, especially if you bring it back with Treylon Burks at 4,600. That's giving you like really good ceiling in that game, assuming it doesn't just become a run fest with Derrick Henry. But yeah, I mean, if you're gambling on the game stack, you're hoping that that's not the case. So, by all means, this is a decent game to play. I think I like the pieces more than the sum of the parts. I think I like I said about AJ Brown. Really excited to play AJ Brown. I'm probably gonna have a lot of exposure on AJ Brown outside of the game stack because I'm not crazy about the game itself, the whole stack there. Devontae Smith, I think, is a pretty good play. 6,200, a little bit of a risk. At that price point, I think you're kind of in the Hopkins territory, if I'm not mistaken. No, not Hopkins. I was thinking Higgins. Higgins, 7,200. So that's not quite the case, but yeah, I mean, okay. I probably wouldn't risk too much Devontae Adams outside of this game stack. And yeah, good. And then, Houston, Cleveland, what's Watson going to do? I mean, I think a lot of people are going to take some crapshoots there. Because Cleveland could absolutely dominate the Houston Texans. But I don't think it's so much going to be a Deshaun Watson game and the Cleveland passing game as it is going to be a Nick Chubb game, as we discussed earlier. So we can kind of avoid that one a little bit. Minnesota versus the Jets. The Jets are really good against the pass. Sauce Gardner shutting things down. So it might be a good Delvin Cook week. And it might be a good week to fade Justin Jefferson, especially with Justin Jefferson being I believe the highest priced wide receiver on the week. So it's a good reason not to waste that money on a dude who is usually worth it. Baltimore, Denver, not excited about. Yeah, and that's about it.
Yeah. No, that's it. I'm excited for the week, Al. Last week I came out about $40 ahead.
Beautiful.
In this. And then I hit a couple of bets at the World Cup. I came out $6 ahead in the World Cup. I bet $39 and came out $6 ahead out of that deal.
Beautiful.
And then that night, Michigan basketball, I hit a parlay that profited me $90. So it's been an all right week this past week. And
so what you're saying is you're going to fire up the generator and you're going to play 150 lineups, all of them with White as your quarterback.
Is that
what you're doing?
That is my plan. You know, I have a lot of work to do today, but this is the week. So we've got a birthday party at 11 a.m. on Sunday, football Sunday. So I don't know. Am I allowed to fire up Red Zone on my phone at a birthday party on Sunday?
Oh yeah,
right.
You can be that guy.
Like those are the rules, and it's like put on the Bears right now.
Because whoever like scheduled this party is ridiculous.
I'm not going to mention names, but it's things have gotten tough for scheduling this month with family and things. So,
well, yeah, it's you should be like, look, the World Cup's on, you know, and this is my only time of year to watch it.
Just let it be known that when I'm texting you Sunday morning, I'll be in Lombard. Okay, there you go. That's
enjoy.
Yeah, I will. Yeah,
get your back worked on, getting the lumbar stretched.
Yep. You know, I told you I went 40 on the main slate last week. Maybe if I'd had Justin Jacobs, if Josh Jacobs did a couple more of my lineups, but for some reason I had him in half as many as I had originally put him in. I don't know why.
Yeah, probably. You know,
it was so easy to just sub in Kamara for him, Al. He was right there.
Oof.
It was horrible.
Oof. If I would have known you were going down to Kamara, I would have said just risk the Jacobs.
I was driving to you. I was at a stoplight for F's sake. We watched 3/4 of a football game together this week, Al.
I have found, like in my experience, we did. It was very fun.
It was awesome.
We watched White. I mean, the tournament maker this week.
And we hung out with a new friend who bought us Heinekens that we did.
Yes. What a gentleman. He's pushing those on anybody.
Very nice.
All I know is I texted Clark at one point, stop making eye contact with him.
He was kind.
Yeah.
No, it was the White show we watched. Yeah.
Anyways, I found in my fantasy experience, don't overreact to news last second. Just go with your gut. Once your lineups are set, unless it's like player X is out.
Oh, what happened to us? We each built
Bears
build our Peterman lineup real quick because it was announced that Simeon was out with an oblique, and next thing you know, last minute, I hear on the radio, they're like, oh, they both have their helmets on. As I pull up and I tell you, you go, are you shitting me? So we got.
Who won that bet?
What's that?
Who won that bet?
Which bet?
The Peterman bet. We both built a Peterman lineup.
Oh yeah.
We both wrote it off because Peterman didn't end up playing, but
we ended up looking at it. Yeah, you and I had a $5 bet on the side, didn't we? We've got.
Yeah.
We should. Somehow that got lost in the shuffle.
Could you pull yours up?
Yeah, I can.
I got mine here. Right. Ooh, I got the big goose egg on Mooney. So not only did I goose egg on the quarterback, I goose egged on Mooney.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Mooney goose egged before he got hurt.
Yeah. And I played the Bears defense who goose egged. So I have 3 zeros, Clark.
Oh my gosh.
I did have some decent other plays though.
Okay.
What do you got?
Hang on. I might be in trouble. I changed the password yesterday. Son of a bitch.
Oh no.
Hang on. I'll get there. Give me a second. I know we're gonna go long now for this. It was great. I heard from Ross the last couple of weeks. He's asking about where the show is. So here it is, Ross. This one was for you, bud.
Yeah, I believe Ross got eliminated from the fishbowl. Sad to see that. I know he was right on the cusp. I think I'm ranked like 250 after the first week of the playoffs. I'm in a pretty good position right now. I'm sitting on 40 points from Josh Allen and Diggs from last night.
Mine's telling me I don't have no recent lineups, Al, which is Incorrect.
Under my contest, recent, nothing?
Nothing. No history.
Okay. Well, the world may never know who won that contest. I ended up putting 112 points.
You'll have to tune in Tuesday to the Sports Addict show if we're back. Happy to hear that Rygar is feeling better.
Yeah, the cat finally pooped. A $500 trip to the vet just to find out my cat was constipated.
I'm sorry.
But
at
so
least
is pet ownership. Yeah, it's a peace of mind. I know she was acting really strange, and I had to give her some laxatives. So,
of course, unreal.
When she wants to eat in the morning and I'm sleeping in, she'll grab my big toe. She'll put her paw on my big toe and just grab it and shake it. And she did that this morning. 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's when I knew. I'm like, because she wasn't eating, so I'm like, if she's asking for food, then she must have pooped. And I went right to the litter box, and sure enough, there was a turd sitting in there, and she had a big smile on her face, and she got dinner.
Cat never felt better. That is amazing. Al, thank you for all of your insights today on week 13 on the main slate. Yeah. Y'all, thank you for grabbing us. Always pick up our podcast on a Friday morning or Friday afternoon when you're at work. Download us. Use us on the commute. For those of you commuting, those of you at home, you can just ask Alexa to play the latest episode of Live at the Sports Attic, and there you go. Ask Alexa to play Live at the Sports Attic podcast, and it will play this episode all day Friday. So there you go. Al,
beautiful.
Anything else to say to the loyal Larcher and Lorensen listener, the new listener listening to the this main slate show that we do now from Draft Kings for daily fantasy? Any last minute for week 13?
Nothing. Just win all the money. Beat me. I hope you beat me and make some money.
Best of luck to everybody out there. Thank you, Al. I hope that I beat you. We didn't even mention that this past week, you eliminated me from the Todd's Tiki League.
Well,
I am completely eliminated from the playoffs. Our team got eliminated from the playoffs as well.
Yeah, very sad. Both my teams. All that money down the drain. Just flushed it.
Wait, Fish is gone?
Oh, no. My FFPCs.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, have a good week.